Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to another episode of TSF Reviews. Joining me today are the lovable Amar Ahmed Khan and the more lovable Amir Arsalan Afzal. And we are going to talk about Dune, not Doom, Dune. And there are a different array of points that we want to make. We're going to go over each of our points one by one. And in that place, I'm going to bring up a point that I thought I enjoyed with the movie. The other two are going to talk about it for like a minute or two, what their thoughts are on that point, and then we're going to go to the next person until we go through all of our points. We have about four or five points each. So then we're going to discuss our overall views and the score for the movie at the end. So I'll start us off. I would like to start off by saying that I really like this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, if I have to criticize something, I'm going to say that, you know what, I'll talk about that later. Right now, let me talk about how visually and audio wise this movie was so appealing to me. I mean, it's like the visuals in this movie were just amazing, in my opinion. I loved watching the movie. I loved the different colors and the different scenes and how the cinematography was of the movie was handled. I just love that. And that's my first point going in. That I just enjoyed this movie visually. Amar, what do you have? What are your thoughts on that?
I will give you this. The visuals and the sound of the movie is more or less very great for this movie. But I do have some problems with those. I'm going to be flat forward. I didn't exactly hate this movie, but I didn't like it either. Like I'm like somewhere smack dab in the middle. There were some problems that I personally had with this movie, and um, if I would bring up one of them right now, it would be just plain simple. The pacing was so slow for everything that was happening in this movie. Like you spent like 10 minutes showing, like you basically spent 10 minutes a scene, basically. That you're, I get it, you're doing a lot of exposition. This is most likely going to be a three-parter, if I understand correctly. But even then, it's so dragged. The main purpose with this one was mostly for exposition. It was so dragged out so much. It was I just got bored. Like the cinema we were going to just have time. So by the time the intermission happened, I was thanking God it ended. I needed a break. But I do agree with you that the sound and visuals were great. But I have another problem about that. I'll get to later. Amir, what about you?
Well, I was gonna break down my review into two parts. I both extremely love this movie and I hate it with every fiber of my being, both at the same time. The love part is because of what Umar described. Yes, the pacing was slow, um, but I believe that that was intended for the movie. I mean, for me, it wasn't slow. So I guess it's something that it's everyone's own personal taste, right? Maybe you found it too slow. I found it just okay. The pacing was just right. It had this more storytelling, artistic approach to it. And stop it. My cats are fighting. Yeah, the visuals in the movie were awesome. But one thing that really makes an experience extremely immersive is the audio. I think the audio game in this movie was something that is to be commended for the most. It's the thing that made this movie very likable for all of us. I do not know who did the score for this movie. I think it was Hans Zimmer. Was it?
Yeah, I believe it is Hans Zimmer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he did show his talent right here as well. So visually speaking and artistically speaking, the movie was fantastic. That's what I have to say about it. I'll get to the other part of my review when it's my turn.
Okay.
So
So apart from that, I'm just gonna break down one. I literally only have one other point that I want to talk about. Then I'm opening the floor up to you two because you have more things to say about this movie than I do. But I will be discussing your points as well. Um, Apart from it being visually a great movie, there are two minor complaints that I had. Minor. One of them being that kind of agrees with Amar slightly. That was for a movie that is meant to be a sci-fi epic, there is a serious lack of anything epic in this movie, right? It is very lore based, right? So you're basically getting an explanation about how the military functions and how the politics of this region are. It basically feels like Star Wars Episode 1 without the lightsaber fights. That's exactly what this movie feels like to me. And that it works for this movie, but also like when you go into this movie expecting things, that kind of dampens your experience a little bit, in my opinion. So that I was expecting some gunfight, I was expecting some army battles and some other stuff, and I got none of that, right? So and the few bits that I did get watching this movie were very short-lived. They were they were quicker than a blink, in my opinion.
And just to reiterate after you, that part I do agree with. I mean, so far as when I talk about the pacing, I look at it. I look at pacing as how much information is being given to the viewer. That's what I see. That's what I read when I read the word pacing. But everything that you just said, I agree with. The movie is, as you said, it was marketed as a epic Star Wars kind of a movie. It's going to be, but there was not a lot that happens in the movie. There is a lot of verbally telling the story. You always have these really cool, panning shots of the landscape and of the city and of the planets or wherever, with the narrator telling you a story. And we all have a mutual friend actually who was going off about this very particular thing. He hated this thing a lot. He was like, why am I being told the story? I want to experience the story. And I think he put it brilliantly like that. So yeah, I agree with you totally on that part. A lot of the movie is storytelling, and the pacing of that storytelling is fine, but it's just, I don't want a story told to me. I would listen to a podcast if I wanted that. I want a movie. The battle that happens, I'm not going to spoil anything, was very short. As a matter of fact, let me pick up on one quip that I made right after I watched the movie, and you two really enjoyed it. It was, for some reason, Hollywood does this thing that you have this really grand army, all right, with very experienced generals leading them. And for some reason, just because the movie has to be done with them really quickly, they will make incredibly stupid mistakes that make no sense to me. Like, if I have to be really specific, why would you abandon your entire military hardware out in the middle of open fields and then go sleep in a barracks which is like a kilometer away? You don't do that. What's the point of having airships if you cannot immediately fly them up? That's a death sentence for any air force. But this is just a one tiny little quip. I don't want to rant a lot because I already have a sore throat, but everything happens, the good stuff that happens, it happens pretty quickly, and then we're back to that good old storytelling, very artistic shots kind of a movie telling. It's fine, but I do agree that they overdid it a little bit in this movie. It should have been they should have shown a little bit more action.
I see. Does I agree. Amar, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, when it comes to the plot aspect and everything, yeah, there's a lot of similarities to Star Wars. I'm sorry. There's way too many similarities to Star Wars. I mean, I forgot. What's the guy's name? He's the only normal name in the entire movie. Paul?
Paul.
What do you mean, only normal name? Everybody has names like Jason, Erica, Jessica.
Jessica.
I mean, outside of that, like outside of those guys, what are they called? The Atreides, something like that. The Atreides. Those guys. Those guys have normal names. Everybody else do not.
I think that's because yeah, this is one thing that we can pick up on, although it's a novel thing. I don't think
Yeah.
it's something to do with the movie, but like Atreides, I read about it a little bit. It's since the word is Greek in origin, so this clan, the House Atreides, which is a feudal house, it apparently goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks. They kind of take their lineage all the way back there. So it's kind of like that kind of house. But then all the other houses are this mishmash of different cultures, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's the part of the movie that I love. Um, if you have read even a little bit of Dune, I haven't yet, but I've read about it online just a little bit. Uh, it's like this the entire galaxy, this world is a mix of Buddhist and Islamic beliefs into a fictional religion. At least that's their religion, but their world is also inspired and based on uh, similar stuff. Atreides is like that one house which is European. At least it seems European to me, but yeah.
Yeah, so back to my main point. Yeah, the guy Paul, I am getting a lot of Anakin Skywalker vibes from him. Anakin, Luke, Rey. I'm getting these kind of vibes from this character. And I'm pretty sure the Dune book came out before Star Wars. So I guess Star Wars might have had some inspiration about that when it came to that movies when they were making them. But when it came to like a person who has not read the books, who is a big fan of Star Wars and has now seen Dune for the first time, I don't mean to hate on the adaptation or the book, but way too many Star Wars vibes. It just irritates me. I mean, it's even on a sand planet, for crying out loud. Everything is just,
I mean,
That got me. That got me.
come on.
ouch.
I mean, it cannot be any more that clear. But one more main point, like you mentioned something about how you want the story, that you want to experience the story rather than being told what's happening. I agree. There is way too much exposition in the plot here. They do. There's too many people explaining to you what's happening, either by dialogue or by narration, and that should not happen. There's a popular thing in movies called show don't tell. You let the
Yep.
environment, you let the experience explain everything to you. If you explain everything, then the entire point is, then that thing is pointless. It ruins the purpose. Like you can't show a whole, like for example, let's take the Lion King for example. You do not see that you do not just see Mufasa saying everything the light touches is our kingdom. You start to experience, yes, everything this light touching is your kingdom. And he talks about how a king should manage. He doesn't say that the reason why this is our kingdom is because this, and this, and this. Don't do that. One simple explanation, let the movie do the rest for you. Explain how spices are used in your world. Okay, fine, that's perfect. But don't go into basically an audiobook explaining why it's all happening. I'm pretty sure they just took the entire literal phrasing how it is in the books and just read that. And that's kind of like how I feel. And I'm going to stop myself here before I drift off and go about this further. So, Omer, anything else you want to add?
We had a technical difficulty. Amr, you were going to continue based off what Amar just said.
Okay, given Amar already finished what he was, yeah, I was just gonna add Amar, like Lord of the Rings does all of this stuff, but it does it right. There is no exposition in the movie except for in the very beginning. At least that's just a narrator or what's the name of our favorite actress, Lady Galadriel? Who was it? Kate Blanchett. All she does is just explain to you the setting of Lord of the Rings and what the universe is, what's happening, what's the ring, blah blah blah. That's it.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the movie, you watch things happen, you experience them happening. in this movie, in the middle, you would always just sit down with someone, and I knew 10 out of 10 they're just going to start telling me a story. And I'm going to be listening to them through the ears of our protagonist. Um, what's his name? Tim Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. His name was Paul in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but okay, this was a very interesting point. Nowadays, it's in a lot of movies, but we're not going to go too much into that. That nowadays it's either story exposition or politics exposition. And that is the problem. We don't want to hear about the politics.
This movie had both.
Yes, it had both. It had both, and it irritated me to, well, high heaven.
That is true, but then again, the book is also based on the politics. I think
Exactly.
it's fine that these things existed. It's just the way that information is communicated, which is the problem over here. I would have loved to see the politics actually happening, like for some what's the rival house again? Harkonnen. I would have loved some Harkonnen emissary or ambassador coming to what's his name? Atreides King, and making some ridiculous offers. That would have given me a very good sense of what the relationship between these two houses is. But I don't get to see that. I just get told that, through scenes that Harkonnen has plans, and there's a lot of storytelling over here. I want to see things happen.
Exactly.
And given that there are so many artistic shots taking place, which are fine. I mean, Lord of the Rings has them as well. Those grandeur, like big, wide landscape shots of the world of Middle Earth, which I love that. They could have done a similar thing over here. Just go with the initial shot and that's it. Just go towards the movie. I still remember a few of my friends complaining about it. They were like, they don't show a lot of the world of Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, that is fine. I'm not here to see the world and the mountains and the planets and the stars. I'm here to see the movie. I'm here to see the plot happen.
Exactly. But
So, yeah.
here's the other thing. You brought up an interesting point about pan shots about the observing of the world. This movie did a lot of it as well, but it's hard to make it look good when it's all sand. Except for that one point where they're living in, it's mostly sand. Like, it's way too, they try to make it too artsy, like too many lightings on the sand areas, too many back and forth slow-mo on a person's face.
I swear, if they used filters over here, which I think they did, I would be so mad.
I'm pretty sure all the Zendaya scenes were filters.
I am gonna come to a certain point of why I hate the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there anything else? I want to keep that at the end because it's more of a point that makes me deduce a point for the movie, but it doesn't exactly have to specifically do with the movie. It's just more to do with Hollywood in general.
But now, my points are for the most part done. I have a few more points, but I'll get to that.
I have a memory of something. Umair, I remember you telling me something about our protagonist's acting.
That is my next point, and that is I was waiting to bring up.
Well, I was wondering when you would bring that up, but yeah, here you go.
Now,
Give it to me.
My major point of the movie, why I deducted a whole 1 point from this movie. Drum roll, please. Timothy Chalamet's performance in this movie would lose an Oscar to a wet piece of cardboard, because the wet piece of cardboard has more personality than he did in this movie.
More emotion.
My God.
More emotion in the eye.
Forget emotion. I'm talking about personality and emotion, anything, right? This guy has two phases in the entire movie, right? He has slightly amused or holding the fart. He has no other face this entire movie. And that pissed me off. Yes,
I would like to add that his acting in this movie makes Patterson in Twilight look like DiCaprio in Titanic.
It makes it makes the actors in Cars. It makes the performance of the actors in Cars seems realistic.
But you can't see
Right?
their
It's that
faces.
bad. Exactly. Right? It makes
Exactly.
his expressions would rival Thomas the Tank Engine, and Thomas the Tank Engine's eyes and mouth don't move, just like Timothy Chalamet in this movie.
Or the Teletubbies.
Like it just his
I
acting
guess we.
is.
The Power Rangers with their helmets on.
It doesn't matter. Stop making comparisons. Whatever comparison you make, his acting is abysmal in this movie, and that is a shame, considering that Timothy Chalamet is actually a pretty decent actor.
I agree.
He is a very, very good actor, but in this movie, call it direction, call it whatever you want, he did a shitty job. And I don't know what else to say. I can't get behind that acting, right? A mirror can't get behind that acting. I don't understand why he was so bland. Even in the climax of the movie, the main scene of the movie that I don't want to disclose for the people who I want to avoid spoilers as much as possible in this movie, in this review.
It's an emotional scene. That's
like yes, it's a very emotional
very
scene. The
emotional
climax.
scene.
The climax of the movie, and his face is still him looking for a place to take a shit because he can't hold it in anymore. He should be breaking down and crying about it and thinking about the repercussions of his action.
One tear is all we ask.
And we didn't even. And in the dry. And in the planet that was basically a whole desert, Timothy Chalamet's face is drier. I don't understand what to say about his acting. I'm done. That's all I have to say about this movie anymore. You guys can take it from here. What else do you guys want to add?
I mean, the movie was great, but this point I have to agree with so much. The entire movie, our main actor is just like what did we initially call it? A teenager going through his puberty years or something. He has no expressions. There is no exchange of expressions during the entire movie. He is the same kid who is internally disturbed because of I don't know, for whatever reason, like teenagers are. He is also young in the movie. So yeah. Oh my God. I found it very difficult to disagree with this because I tried very hard to think of a scene in which he at least showed something different. And I think there was just this one scene in which he screamed in the entire movie. Just
that we had one emotional outburst in the entire movie, and he expected that to last as emotional development for the entire movie.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle of the movie. It wasn't even in the end where it was actually very emotional. It was a moment that he should have been crying. I was very desperately looking into his eyes. I don't see the tears coming out. His eyes seem watery, or maybe that's just me. I was tired. It was pretty late at night. Oh my God. I tried very hard to see just one tear on his face. I couldn't. He just...
It's like
he just...
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's just like he tried to do the sexy cry, but he could not get the waters out no matter how hard he tried.
Oh my
performance issues are very common in men. Don't worry.
1 in 5, in fact.
Ouch. But yeah, okay. Before we get carried away, I guess I'll make unless Amar, you have something to add.
No, we are saving all this time. Unless Amar has something else to do, we have all this time for your rant.
For my rant, honestly, I'm gonna keep my rant short.
Amar, do you have anything to say before Amar gets into it?
I brought up my point about the cinematography and the sound being artsy. Yeah. I brought up the cinematography. The sound is the same thing with all the opera choiry effects that they did in a lot of scenes.
I have some notes open. You mentioned that you found that some of the main characters were underutilized.
Yes, I was going to get to that. You see, we have Bautista, we have Zendaya, we have these other amazing actors, and you barely see them in the movie. Yep. Again, part one is meant to build up. If you're going to build it up and they're not that important to the movie. Why are they in the movie at all? You could even
Adding to what sorry, continue.
Zendaya at the end of the scene when they're meeting the people, that's fine. But all those artsy scenes with the flashbacks and future predictions, annoying. 1, 2, Batista. But Batista could have easily not been in this movie and showed up more in part 2 by showing, inform this person, or I think he's his nephew or something. So inform my nephew to do this and do that and do this without having him be there. And we could build it up for him in part 2 to be more involved, to have more impactful scenes. Him showing up and just
built,
him just showing up in scene 1 and then spontaneously just yelling out of nowhere. So this one scene, he just started talking. It's like he just suddenly yells it out, and like that. I mean, Batista, I love you, but what was that? Were you trying to imitate Zod from Man of Steel? What was that?
The interesting part is you could have removed any of the flashback stuff as well as any of the scenes where Batista is in the movie, and the movie wouldn't change.
Exactly. Only one thing would change. Only one major thing would change, that we'd probably miss out like 15, 20 minutes of the movie.
Probably. That's maybe a bit 10. Of a stretch. Maybe 10 minutes. 10 if we're really stretching it. 10 if we're really stretching it.
No, I know Zendaya scenes are like 7 minutes. And I think like Batista is probably in there for like roughly 5. But 2-3 minutes of Zendaya is very important because it's like towards the end. But so I would say about maybe 7 or 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm. All right, but then still, I guess yeah. No, go on.
No, I'm saying still the characters were very, very underutilized. I agree with you. And let's go on to the major point of the entire movie, and that is going to be handled by Amir.
Oh my God, the major point of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, all of our other points failed in comparison to this one that you're about to make.
Okay, fine. Let's go there then. We all know the universe of Dune. Some of the people who might be watching this have probably already read the books. They already know the Dune universe. I will confess, I have not read the books yet. I didn't even know anything about Dune until I watched this movie. All I knew was that it's a fantastic universe, inspired a lot of our modern era sci-fi fiction worlds. After I watched it, before I watched it, I found an article which explained it was titled The Islamness of Dune or something like that. I was like, what? And then I read that Dune is predominantly based with a lot of stuff inspired from Islamic culture. I was like, oh shit. I kind of have a feeling I know what I'm going into. And when I watched the movie, my fears were true. Before anybody starts pointing fingers at me, here's the thing. I did read up a little bit about it, that what are people's critiques of this movie's representation of Islamic culture or whatnot. And given there are 2 major points. One, that it's a fictional universe in which this isn't technically Islam or Islamic culture or Islamic religion. The religion in the movie is called Zen Sunnism or something. It's a combination of Zen Buddhism and Sunni Islam. And there are many different sects and whatnot. I do not want to get into that for now, but that's one point. And secondly, that the man who wrote the books, Herbert, he did a lot of research and tried very hard to accurately represent the the Islamic religion and the Arab language, especially. Some of the words that he used and stuff like that, people were like that they are, this thing does smell of Orientalism, but the way it is done is very good. I'm like, okay, fine. But then we come to this movie. The thing that makes me really hate this movie is the thing that makes me hate a lot of other movies that have even a hint of Islamic stuff in it. ठीक है? And that goes for Disney's Prince of Persia and a whole bunch of other movies that are similar to this. For some reason, our culture, people love taking inspiration from our cultures. I say our as a Muslim, right? People love taking Islamic culture, inspiration from it, from Arab culture, but they do not like, for some reason, Hollywood does not introduce Arab actors to play those roles in the movies. I kind of made a specific point there, but let me get into it. The cast for this movie, I went ahead to, check who they are exactly, where they are from. Yes, this movie has a, relatively speaking, diverse cast of actors, but none of them are Arabs. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I went to IMDb, scrolled all the way to the bottom, checked out all the actors that I saw, and none of them are Arabs. ठीक है? There are black actors in the movie. Some of the characters you will see in the movie who are driving the story as well are kind of minor characters. They're not major characters, but still, they are black actors from Africa. Some of them, one of them is specifically from Africa. He moved to the US, but he is from Central Africa. These, for some reason, I have to say this out loud. Africa, whenever I say Africa or people from Africa, if you are imagining a black person, then you are wrong. Okay? We are Asians, are we not? I'm from Pakistan. I'm an Asian. Chinese are also Asians. There's a big difference between the Chinese and us Pakistanis / Indians / Bangladeshis, the subcontinent people. Okay? A big difference in what kind of people we are, our culture and everything. Okay? Similarly, Africa is a huge ass continent. Arguably speaking, it's probably the biggest continent. I do not know how to debate that because there's a lot of controversy around it, but Africa definitely is a huge ass continent. To think that every person on Africa is quote unquote black, you are wrong. Look at people from North Africa. They are not all blacks. They are a mix of different peoples, including Arabs and Moors, Berbers. There's so many people, I can't even remember all of their names off the tip of my tongue. I feel that I am unqualified to even mention any of these names, but there's a lot of variety of people. Even black people of Africa have so many different subcultures within them. Okay? For some reason, I feel the need to say this out loud. You cannot throw black people into your movie and then say that our movie's cast is diverse. That is my big point over here. You have a movie that is based on a novel that takes a huge amount of inspiration from Islamic / Arab culture. Why the fuck are there no Arab actors in the movie? Arab / North African, from the region of MENA or MENA, like whatever you want to call it. Middle East, North African descent. Why are there no actors in the movie from this place, which the movie borrows so much from? Instead, you have actors from Latin America. I do not know where Zendaya is from. Zendaya is Latin American, right? I say that as a very generalized term, just like people say African. Where is she from?
Good question.
Okay, check it out. I do not remember because her full name sounded kind of like Spanish. All right, but
She's born in America. She's nationality is American.
Nationality is a different thing.
She was born in America.
Well, fine. A lot of the actors are from America. Some of the actors are American, but they are born in Africa. They come from Africa. One actor specifically is from Africa. I just do not remember which one exactly. I think he is that. You guys remember the fight at the end? I do not want to speak any
Yeah.
spoilers, but that I think it was that black actor, the one who was fighting. He is the one from Africa, but correct me if I'm wrong. My point is, yaar, ke Disney does this as well. They did this in Star Wars, and I hated it. And they were championing themselves as paragons of diversity and inclusivity. I mean, that's great, but you cannot just have the denominations of color, people of color, who are only in America and say that your movies are diverse, especially when it comes to Arab people slash Muslim people. You have a opportunity over here. A novel series, okay, it was written way back in a time which people just did not understand what racial diversity was. Now we have a bigger understanding of that. So sure, I can write long articles about Herbert and what kind of a racist he probably was. I don't care. That was way back. This movie is made today. We had an opportunity to give Arab actors a voice, but they didn't take that. And they don't take that ever. They have never taken that. We only ever see very rare, extremely rare cases. Like for example, I there's one that's in my head. I haven't watched Squid Game yet, but I'm gonna mention that Pakistani character they have in the TV show, right? Who is played by an Indian actor, which is fine because Pakistanis and Indians are pretty much the same thing. ठीक है? We even speak the same language, just almost similar language. So that's fine by me. Actually, I celebrate that. That's one example that I can name off the top of my head. I cannot name any other examples. I find it so difficult to find my people in the movies playing major roles, driving the story. There were as I was browsing the wonderful and very, very good for your mental health place called the internet, found some people commenting about this on Reddit that, hey, look, this movie was shot in Jordan, and it's when a movie is shot in a particular region, usually extras for that movie are hired from that region. So yes, there are definitely Arab people in this movie, but they're not the ones driving the story. I'm talking about the major actors who drive the story. Instead, and this is part of the novel, so I do not have an issue with this particular point that I'm about to make, but still, it carries the same weight that causes these frustrated feelings within me that makes me rant in TSF review videos. All right. This movie is showing a white savior complex. Fine, that is the original story. This Messiah who is going to come and save the very, very evidently Bedouin tribe inspired people who are living on this sand planet called Arrakis. ठीक है? And that Messiah, when he finally arrives, is a white kid. ठीक है? Yes, I know that this is the original story of Dune, and I appreciate that the movie directors and writers they stayed true to the original story. I don't know how well they did that. People who read the books can comment on that. That's fine, but still, this is a story that has that white savior complex. When you have a story like that, maybe you can find another opportunity. Cast some of the major actors in your um, for example, this the freemen they call them, these the local people from the sand planet. All right, cast some of the major players from there by Arab actors. ठीक है? Cast Zendaya played from some Arab actress. Yeah, there is a movie that I watched. It's called Mongol. ठीक है? It's a Russian cinema movie. ठीक है? No, it is not in Russian. As the name suggests, it's based in Mongolia. The language that is spoken in the movie is Mongolian, as far as I know. ठीक है? The actors in that movie are predominantly Asian actors. A lot of them are from China, the major actors, some of the faces you might even recognize from Hollywood. But one, they had to have at least one. Well, I don't know how hard they tried, but they do have a Mongolian actress who is literally a nobody, who is just a local actress. They took her to play a major role in the movie, not a significantly major role, but a major role indeed, as the wife of Genghis Khan in the movie. That movie is about the life of Genghis Khan, by the way. Spoiler alert, but it's not like anyone's going to watch it. But hey, come on, Hollywood. If the Russian cinema is that probably does not even have a fraction of the budget that you have, ठीक है? This cinema out in the middle of nowhere can make a movie about Mongolian people, about their founder or whatever, ठीक है? About their I have seen so many movies trying to do the representation right all over the world, but Hollywood does not. This is my problem with this movie and a lot of other movies. And this is why I really hate Dune from the bottom of my heart. I love the movie. I really, really love the movie. Whenever I was sitting with you guys watching that movie, Thika, I was having a barrage of feelings because over there I was just overwhelmed with emotion. I really loved the musical score of the movie, the artistic, like the movie is fantastic. But for some reason, and it's just getting frustrating for me now that I look up at the screen, I want to see people, I want to see my people up there. Okay? Front and center of the camera, not the extras in the back. But I didn't see those in this movie either. And that makes me deduct at least 1 point from it. Heck, it makes me want to deduct all the points. But then again, I have to give an objective review. This movie is fantastic. Everyone should go watch it. I really love this movie. And I hate it as my rant is over. And it's surprising that my throat didn't give out. I am so impressed with myself. I need a glass of, I need some water now before I jinx my throat. Anyways, guys, how long was that? Did someone time that?
About 18 minutes.
18 minutes. Is that a good rant? Will Mubarak finally be pleased?
We'll find out when the review goes live. So, with that said, with very interesting and very valid points brought up by Amir, I believe, in my opinion.
Give me, okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. I want you guys to chime in on this as well, especially the casting. I want to hear what you guys think about the cast specifically, why they chose these particular actors. I don't know. What do you have to say?
Honestly speaking, there could be a number of reasons why they chose those specific actors. I mean, it's we're not on the production team, so there's no easy way to say, you know, why did they choose these actors. So obviously, when you're presenting a movie like Dune, which had already had a movie that existed and failed, by the way, it's important for you to kind of bring that movie. When you bring that movie back, it's important to have star power, right? So look at the names in this movie, right? You have Timothée Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, Dave Bautista, right? These aren't like no-name actors in that movie, right? So like they're all pretty well-known actors. So you need to bring in people with star power. Now, we can't speak for the extras in this movie, obviously, right? The people behind the people that they showed in the crowd scenes and all that.
That was just a dumb internet comment that I was relating to. That some
I mean,
people
no, I know you are. I know you are, but like we can't speak for that specifically, obviously. But as far as the actors chosen, it could be for any number of reasons. Maybe because that was the initial view of the original author, or it could be that how the characters were described in the book. Since none of us had actually read the book.
I have a point. I have a point to, like, you know, go there. A point to make over here. You see, you said that we need star actors for this movie to make it successful, which is a valid point. The part of this movie's hype was because of the actors. I think to mention this because Dave Bautista is in this. Jason Momoa. Oh yeah, that's his real name. For some reason, I thought I was going to name Aquaman for some reason. Jason Momoa is in this movie. ठीक है? Point
Mhm.
is, I do not know if white people know who Amitabh Bachchan is,
They
but the thing is, they
do.
probably do. The reason is Amitabh Bachchan, who is a very famous Indian actor, a very OG Indian actor, has now come as far as to have representation in Hollywood movies. He has major roles in some movies. I think he was in Mission Impossible. Was that Mission Impossible?
I wouldn't know, my friend.
No, he was. I think it was Mission Impossible. No, wait, that was a different actor. The point is, unless you open doors for actors from a particular region, you will not develop stars. All of these actors, they came to Hollywood, they got their lucky breaks, and they made a name for themselves and for their particular regions from wherever they come from. Yes, if you do not give an opportunity to actors from our region, and when I say our region, I kind of feel like I shouldn't say that because I am a South Asian. I am not from the Middle East. I should point that out. Because we are not Middle Easterners. Actors from Jordan, actors from Dubai, actors from Egypt. Why not actors from Morocco? These are very well developed countries with strong industry. Actors from Turkey. I mean, I do not know if I will anger some Turks by associating them with Middle Easterners because I don't know if they do that or not. But the point is, you don't see a lot of actors from this region in the movies, and you will continue to not do so unless you give these actors minor roles. I'm not asking you to make the main protagonist of our movie over here, Dune, into a brown actor, because in the books he is described as a white person, which is fine. You represent that. But what about the freemen? I'm talking about those, what should I call them? The grandmaster who finds him, the leader of the tribe who comes to have a meeting in the movie. I'm trying not to
The
give spoilers,
the
but
the friendman, yeah.
yeah, the leader of the tribe, the warrior, big warrior who comes and spits in front of them, and well, tiny little spoiler there, but then again, no one will get the reference until they watch it. Those are all white actors. I think the guy who came in and spit on the floor,
Hmm.
he is a man who is half Persian. He is half Iranian, but he is born American, born to white and Persian parents. I think people were defending that. They were like, "This is one example. You see a major character." I'm like, dude, come on. At this point, it's try harding. How difficult can it be to just act? Fine, if their acting is pathetic or poor and not as great as your star actors, it's fine. But those actors will grow if you give them access to this industry. That's my only key point to make over here. Like, there's probably a lot of particular reasons why they chose these actors for marketing reasons, but then again, how long is that excuse going to work?
True.
Anyways, I think we should end our review over here before we keep on ranting for another hour. I
Yep,
think our
I
review
agree.
has gone up to an hour now.
Yeah, just about. So let's wrap this up over here. Everybody, thanks for watching. Amar, do you have any last minute points that you'd like to make before we sign off?
Nope, none whatsoever. I have an argument for what Amir said, but that's for another video.
Which one?
Maybe a Geek Daba podcast.
Oh
Interesting.
no.
All right. On
I
that
feel
note,
mad. I feel scared.
you should be. On that note, we'll sign off. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye bye.